Yellowstone is perhaps one of the most famous national parks in the world. For many, the name alone conjures images of iconic geysers shooting into the sky and herds of majestic bison roaming across vast plains. But beyond these famous sights lies a park full of surprises and wonders. We spent 4 days embarking on a journey to discover the magic of Yellowstone, from its thundering waterfalls and dramatic canyons to the wildlife that calls this park home. And of course, no trip to Yellowstone would be complete without visiting its legendary geysers and hot springs. So come along with us as we dive into the heart of one of the world's most iconic natural landscapes. Our adventure began the moment we touched down in Bozeman, Montana. After gathering our bags and picking up the rental car, we set off towards Yellowstone's north entrance. We're in Montana.
Yep.
Are we in Montana?
We're in Montana. We already saw a deer.
But the deer was dead.
Still counts.
Oh, poor deer. Ooh, cows.
Got the non-fluffy cow variety.
Oh, the non-fluffy cows. Look at all these mountains. Look at how pretty this road is. We're driving down to Yellowstone now from Bozeman. And this drive couldn't be prettier. The drive from Bozeman is breathtaking, and it winds through open Montana landscapes with towering mountains on the horizon. About an hour and a half later, we arrived at Gardiner, Montana, a charming little town nestled right at the park's northern entrance. Look at how cute this little town is. And it's right on the river. It's so pretty. Naturally, we couldn't resist stopping for photos with the iconic Yellowstone sign before heading towards the famous Roosevelt Arch. The Roosevelt Arch is a towering 50-foot archway built in 1903 and dedicated by President Theodore Roosevelt. It feels like a grand entryway into a new world. And as soon as we passed through the arch, we spotted a herd of elk grazing peacefully just beyond it. And it was a welcome into Yellowstone we'll never forget.
You sound like dial-up internet.
That evening, we checked into Mammoth Hot Springs Hotel and Cabins, where we found even more elk lounging around everywhere. The Mammoth Hot Springs Hotel was built in 1936 and is situated at the north entrance of the park. We chose to stay in one of the cabins behind the hotel, which was cozy but ended up actually being our least favorite accommodation of the trip. The cabin doesn't have some of the modern amenities like Wi-Fi, which is only available in the lodge. However, we did pay extra for a cabin with a private bathroom because the idea of wandering outside in the dark in bear country to use the bathroom just wasn't for me. We just checked into our room at the Mammoth Hot Springs Hotel, and we actually got a cabin that's behind the hotel, and look at how cute this is. The room that we got comes with 2 queen beds, and it's a little too dark outside to be able to kind of see the area. The cabins are super cute. That's what they look like. So they have like little chairs on the front porch and everything that you can sit at and have coffee in the morning if you want. We're gonna be out before we can actually enjoy that. But look at the little blanket has elk designs on it. This is so cute. After settling into our cabin, we made our way to the Mammoth dining room for dinner. Since it's one of the only few dining options in the area, we weren't surprised that there was about an hour and a half wait for a table. But once we were seated, a nice warm meal was exactly what we needed. We started with the Parmesan truffle fries, which were delicious, followed by Montana Wagyu beef sliders and a classic beef burger, which was a satisfying end after a long day of travel.
Are good?
That is good. It's really truffly. I like it. It is about 5:54 and we're leaving the hotel now by Mammoth Hot Springs Hotel. It's been nice. So we are heading to Lamar Valley and it is dark outside. So hopefully, we don't hit any bison on the way. But we'll drive slow. As the sun rose, we set our sights on Lamar Valley, which is often called the Serengeti of North America. Lamar Valley is located on the upper loop of Yellowstone, heading over to the northeast entrance. We drove all the way out to Soda Butte and waited for the sunrise, watching as the valley slowly came to life. Soda Butte is a mound made of travertine, which is a type of calcium carbonate formed over a century ago by an ancient hot spring. But I keep wanting to call it Soda Butt because it's just more fun. And almost immediately, we spotted our first herd of bison grazing in the distance, and it was an incredible sight to see. We pulled over to watch them and made sure to keep a safe distance. We spent the entire morning soaking in the stunning beauty of the valley as we scanned the hillside for any sign of wildlife. Oh, it's a mommy and a baby. Oh, the baby's suckling. Oh, it's two babies. What? Oh, three babies. Oh, that's nice.
Some people are filming us.
Look at kids. Oh, kids are like, hey, Mom, but we're hungry. We're hungry, Mom.
Eat your damn grass.
As we continued on our journey, we encountered our first bison jam, and I couldn't be happier. Bison roam freely throughout Yellowstone, and it's common to get caught in traffic as they cross the road, especially in Lamar Valley. But they were kind enough to let us pass as we made our way through. A few other early risers also joined us with binoculars pointed towards the distant ridge. There was this quiet camaraderie among us as we hoped to get a glimpse of the elusive predators. On our way back, we spotted a wolf chasing a pronghorn, which at first we thought was a deer. Later, we told one of the cashiers of our story, and he said that this was a hopeless effort because the wolf had no chance of catching this pronghorn, but he heard this from a few other guests as well. With wildlife sightings checked off of our list, we continued counterclockwise around the upper loop, making our way back to Mammoth Hot Springs. On our way, we made a quick stop at the Petrified Tree, which is an ancient redwood that stands as evidence of a warmer, wetter, and more violent landscape in Yellowstone's past. Around 50 million years ago, a chain of volcanic eruptions triggered massive mudslides that swept through the mountains, valleys, and streams. Before this tree could decay, silica from the volcanic flow filled its cells, turning it into stone. Originally, there were 3 petrified trees here, but only one remains today because sadly the other 2 were destroyed by thoughtless souvenir hunters who chipped away pieces over the years.
The tree kept escaping, so they had to build a fence around it.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
Is that why it has a fence around it?
Damn tree ran off again. Come on, go get the tree.
On the way to our next stop, we hit our second bison jam, and I couldn't be more excited. This one was even more dramatic than the first, with the bison getting much closer to us as they slowly walked down the road alongside our car. As majestic as they are, it's important to remember that bison are wild animals and can be very dangerous. If you do ever find yourself in a bison jam like us, make sure to stay in your car and avoid doing anything that could startle them. Our next stop was Undine Falls, a quick but scenic stop along the road to take in this beautiful double waterfall. Undine Falls has a combined drop of 60 feet and was named after the mythological water spirit Undine, who was said to dwell near waterfalls. Our next stop was Mammoth Hot Springs Visitor Center to collect the stamp for our national park passport. But before we even made it inside, we spotted a herd of elk resting right next to one of the ranger buildings. Naturally, we couldn't resist stopping for a moment to watch them. If you've never heard of it, a national park passport is a fun way to commemorate your visits by collecting unique stamps from each park, and we were determined to get as many as possible during this trip. We found that each visitor center offers something different to explore. At the Mammoth Hot Springs Visitor Center, you can learn about the diverse wildlife that calls the park home. I love that each visitor center highlights something unique and makes it worth visiting each one.
That's what their dens look like. Oh, and there's this mountain lions too. Don't forget about the mountain lions.
Once we were finished, we made our way over to Mammoth Hot Springs. The terraces of Mammoth Hot Springs look like a sculpture garden with layers of white and orange formations that cascade down the hillside. We wandered along the boardwalks, marveling at the steam rising from the bubbling springs, which gave the place a beautiful and unworldly atmosphere. Mammoth Hot Springs is one of Yellowstone's most unique geothermal areas, known for its striking travertine terraces that are formed from hot water interacting with limestone. These terraces are constantly evolving due to the continuous flow of calcium carbonate-rich water that creates the white, orange, and brown formations. The area includes upper and lower terraces, with the lower section accessible by a 1.75-mile boardwalk and the upper section featuring a short drive with multiple viewpoints. The water that creates Mammoth's features originates from rain and snow, which seep into the ground and are heated by geothermal activity below. This process is linked to the volcanic history of the region, with heat coming from the magma chamber beneath Yellowstone. While Mammoth Hot Springs is located north of Yellowstone's caldera, it is connected to the thermal activity through a series of underground fissures. In addition to its geothermal wonders, the Mammoth area has historical significance. The Mammoth Hot Springs Hotel, Fort Yellowstone, and the Albright Visitor Center are located nearby, offering insights into the park's history and wildlife. And we found that you can often see elk roaming the area, especially in the fall rutting season like when we were there. By midday, we were back on the road, winding through the forest and meadows until we reached the Norris Geyser Basin. The Norris Geyser Basin felt like stepping onto another planet, with steaming vents, roaring fumaroles, and brilliantly colored pools scattered across the landscape. Norris is home to Steamboat Geyser, the tallest active geyser in the world, although we didn't get to see an eruption while we were there. The Norris Geyser Basin is known for being the hottest, most acidic, and most dynamic geyser basin in Yellowstone, and is a part of the world's largest active volcanoes. At Norris Geyser Basin, there are two main trails that you can explore, the Back Basin and the Porcelain Basin. We started our visit at the Back Basin, the larger and more forested of the two. This 1.75-mile loop took us through a landscape that felt almost otherworldly, with geysers and hot springs scattered amongst the pines. As we followed the boardwalk, we encountered some of Yellowstone's most fascinating geothermal features. The highlight was Steamboat Geyser, the tallest active geyser in the world, capable of erupting up to 300 feet. While we didn't see it for ourselves, the sheer scale is impressive. Another remarkable sight is the Aquinas Geyser, one of the largest acid geysers known for its frequent eruptions of acid water, which is something unique to this part of Yellowstone.
Sounds like the ocean.
We also stopped to admire Cistern Spring, a hot spring connected to Steamboat Geyser, with a fascinating fill and drain cycle. The Back Basin offers a serene contrast to the more barren Porcelain Basin and gave us a chance to walk through the woods while still marveling at these incredible wonders. After finishing our walk through the Back Basin, we headed over to the Porcelain Basin. And as we were making our way down the stairs, I overheard a park ranger giving advice to a group of visitors. She mentioned that the trail is a bit easier if you start by going left at the bottom of the stairs. So we decided to follow that suggestion. As we descended to the boardwalk, the landscape opens up into a wide, treeless expanse covered in a milky white mineral called silicious cinder, which helps give the basin its name. The ground seems to shimmer with shades of white, blue, and yellow as steam hiss up from the vents and bubbling pools that dot the landscape. The sheer emptiness and raw energy of the Porcelain Basin is just captivating. This is one of the fastest changing areas in Yellowstone, with hot water constantly reshaping the landscape. The mineral deposits slowly build up over time, but if the vents get sealed, the pressurized water forces its way up to the surface somewhere, creating new geysers and springs. So it's a living, breathing reminder of the powerful geothermal forces beneath Yellowstone. As we walked the boardwalk loop, there's a hiss and steam of the bubbling springs that accompany you, creating an almost eerie atmosphere. The vibrant blue pools stand out against the white, stark ground, making it feel like you're exploring an ever-evolving realm.
What you think?
It's incredible. It stinks though. It smells like sulfur. But not nice. It's still beautiful.
On our way out, we stopped by the bookstore to get our second passport stamp before continuing on. As the sun began to dip lower, we made our way to Canyon Village, where our next cabin awaited us.
What you got there?
I got some Old Faithful root beer.
What you gonna do with that?
Ooh, that is good.
That's a good root beer.
That is really good.
We got a chili cheese dog with mac and cheese and cheesecake. We got cheesecake with rotisserie.
Rotisserie chicken.
They look good.
The cabins are simple but comfortable, providing everything you need to relax. And it ended up being my favorite accommodations in Yellowstone.
We just checked into our cabin at the Canyon Lodge, and this is so cute. This is a lot cuter than the last cabin we stayed in. And look at this look at this view. Wouldn't it be crazy if we woke up and there was a bear right there? They do also have really small pillows. These are a little better than the last ones, at least. They're a little bit longer, but it's the tiniest little pillows. So there's a little table over here that you can eat. And then, so look, we have a coffee maker in this one. Nice. Our cabin, it came with the 2 queen-size beds. So if you are, traveling with more than just 2 people, you have an extra bed here. So we have outlets right here next to the bed. Hopefully there's one. Yes, so there's one also in the table behind, in between the beds. And then I think there was another, there's an outlet over here by the window as well. And then this cabin also comes with a private bathroom, which was my stipulation because I don't like to share bathrooms. So this actually is a really nice size bathroom. Our bathroom in the other cabin was really small. So this is actually a really good size bathroom.
Just Wi-Fi.
Oh, nice. And they have Wi-Fi. So that's awesome. Good. Early the next morning, we woke up before the sunrise, eager to be among the first to visit the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. One of the perks of staying at Canyon Lodge was its close proximity to the canyon, which is just a short drive away from all the viewpoints. The Grand Canyon of Yellowstone is one of the park's most striking geologic features, stretching about 20 miles long and plunging over 1,000 feet deep. The canyon's vibrant colors, yellow, orange, and red, are caused by the oxidation of iron and volcanic rock, which was altered by the park's hydrothermal activity. This ongoing process not only created the canyon but also carved the stunning upper and lower falls, making it one of Yellowstone's most iconic sights. We started our day on the northern rim, heading straight for Inspiration Point. It wasn't until we were on our way back that we realized that the road was only one way, so if you don't want to circle back like we did, you might want to start your journey at the brink of the lower falls, which is the first stop on the Northern Rim Drive. It's a small tip that could save you some time. Regardless, we did not regret starting our day at Inspiration Point. Inspiration Point is one of the most iconic viewpoints along the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. It is perched on a cliff along the North Rim and offers sweeping views of the canyon's dramatic, colorful walls and the Yellowstone River below. Inspiration Point was originally named Promontory Point in 1878 and was later renamed due to its breathtaking views. From Inspiration Point, you can see both up and down the canyon and its vibrant hues. Next, we made our way back around to the beginning of the North Rim Drive to the brink of the Lower Falls Trail. The brink of the Lower Falls Trail is a short but very steep 0.4-mile hike that descends about 600 feet to this incredible viewpoint right at the top of the 808-foot Lower Yellowstone Falls. The trail begins along the North Rim Drive and follows a series of switchbacks as you make your way down. It's a relatively short trail, but the elevation change can make it very challenging.
It's not so bad going down, but I'm scared about going back up.
A lot of switchbacks.
Once you reach the end of the trail, you'll be standing just above the roaring falls and get a unique and dramatic perspective of the Yellowstone River as it plunges into the canyon below. Afterwards, we made our way to Lookout Point, which is our next stop on North Rim Drive. Lookout Point on the north rim of the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone offers more breathtaking views of the lower falls. This is an easily accessible viewpoint that is reached by a short paved trail, and it makes a great stop for anyone who wants to take in the stunning views without a strenuous hike. From Lookout Point, you're able to gaze down at the 308-foot waterfall as it thunders into the canyon below. Lookout Point also serves as the starting point for a more challenging trail down Red Rock Point, which brings you even closer to the falls, and we couldn't help but take on the challenge while we were there.
We just found this other trail that goes a little bit further down the river and closer to the waterfall. And just when we thought we were done with all the switchbacks, we just found some more.
Red Rock Point offers one of the closest and most breathtaking views of the lower falls in Grand Canyon of Yellowstone.
Oh, wow. Oh my God.
The viewpoint is reached by a short but steep 0.3-mile trail that descends about 500 feet from Lookout Point. Along the trail, you'll pass through a combination of paved paths and stairs as you make your way down. But the effort is definitely worth it, as Red Rock Point gives you this unparalleled sight of the lower falls, which is nearly twice the height of Niagara Falls. This ended up being one of my favorite hikes in Yellowstone and well worth the hike if you're comfortable with the steep climb up.
Is that's where we came from, like way up there.
We gotta hike back up there.
We gotta go hike all the way back up.
How was that hike?
It was tough. I mean, but it was totally worth it. Like, wow, that viewpoint was beautiful. So if you ever are here, definitely make the trek down to Red Rock Point because it's challenging, but it's worth it.
With Red Rock Point behind us, we made our way to Grand View. The Grand View offers the most spectacular panoramic views of the canyon. Unlike Lookout Point or Red Rock Point, Grand View doesn't provide any direct views of the falls, but it showcases the dramatic, colorful canyon walls. From here, since we already stopped to see Inspiration Point, we looped back around to Grand Loop Road to the brink of the Upper Falls, which offers another fantastic view of the Upper Falls. And this trail is a short 0.3-mile trail and takes you right up to the brink of the waterfall. It's not as challenging of a walk compared to the other canyon trails, but the scenery is just as beautiful. The upper falls are not as tall as the lower falls, but it still delivers a powerful experience. We looped back around to the Upper Falls viewpoint. The Upper Falls viewpoint offers a great vantage point to witness the powerful 109-foot Upper Falls, where the river plunges dramatically into the canyon, marking the beginning of the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. This viewpoint allows you to appreciate the falls from a wider perspective.
Well, we've been here almost in the entire day. It's been absolutely spectacular. Grand Canyon of Yellowstone is so beautiful. It's probably my favorite spot so far.
Yeah, everyone talks about the geysers and the bison, but they never really talk about the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I don't understand why this is not more of a focal point of Yellowstone. Like, this is incredible. Like, Absolutely beautiful.
Following that stop, we made our way to Artist Point to cap off our adventure at the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. Artist Point is one of the most famous viewpoints in Yellowstone National Park. The viewpoint offers unparalleled views of the 308-foot lower falls and the colorful canyon stretching below. The canyon is thought to be named by the park photographer Frank J. Haynes in 1883. Artist Point was mistakenly believed to be where the artist Thomas Moran painted his iconic depiction of the canyon. But despite this mix-up, the name stuck, and today it's considered one of the best spots for photography and scenic views year-round, and it's the perfect stop to complete our adventure at the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone.
Words cannot express how absolutely beautiful this is. I don't even think that the video does any justice.
Before we left the area, we made sure to stop at the Grand Canyon Visitor Center to grab our stamp and learn about the park's unique geology. One of the key exhibits focuses on Yellowstone's supervolcano and shows how the volcano, geysers, and hot springs shape the landscape and ecosystem.
That cube is Mount St. Helens. These are the 3 different eruptions in comparison.
One of my favorite parts was a room-size model of Yellowstone that illustrates volcanic eruptions, lava flows, and the earthquake faults.
So this is the whole caldera here. All this.
Once we were done, we started making our way around the lower loop, where our next stop was the Sulphur Cauldron. Along the way, we came across a crowd of cars pulled off on the side of the road. Curious, we stopped and noticed a coyote in the distance wandering through the meadow. But after a moment, we realized the real reason why so many people were gathered, and it wasn't just the coyote. There was a bear out there in the distance, and I did my best to capture it with my telephoto lens, but it was quite a distance away, so this is the best shot that I could get. But I guess we could say that we also saw a bear. The Sulphur Cauldron is one of the park's most acidic hotspots, with pH levels as low as a car battery acid. It has turbulent, bubbling waters and a pungent, rotten egg smell that is caused by hydrogen sulfide gas. The spring's yellowish color comes from bacteria that thrive in the extreme acidity, while sulfuric acid continues to break down the surrounding rocks in the mud.
Even in the parking lot, you got little steamers. There's one over here. Fumaroles.
Oh, look at that shot. That's beautiful.
Pretty awesome.
Just down the road from the Sulphur Cauldron is the Mud Volcano area. The Mud Volcano area is full of dynamic geological features that offer a glimpse into the park's volcanic activity. The main boardwalk loop takes you past several fascinating sites, and we were glad we caught sight of this hint on the area map stating that the loop was less steep if we followed the arrows and made the trek around the loop clockwise. Because after hiking through the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, we could use a little bit of a break. The Mud Volcano itself has a fascinating geothermal feature that has undergone significant changes since it was first found. Historically, it was a 30-foot cone-shaped mound that erupted violently, spewing mud high enough to coat nearby trees. By the time Yellowstone became a national park, the volcano had blown itself apart and left behind a churning crater of boiling mud. One of the area's most striking features is Dragon Mouth Spring, where surging water and steam roar out of a cavern, and it gives this intimidating dragon-like appearance. As we continued along the boardwalk, we passed other geothermal sites like the Churning Cauldron, which was once calm but now bubbles and boils aggressively following seismic activity that increased its intensity. We also stopped at the Sizzling Basin, which is an area of boiling water and escaping steam that gives the place this surreal, misty atmosphere. As well as the Cooking Hillside, which has steam rising from deep underground and literally cooks the ground and vegetation above it. Further along, we came across Sour Lake, another highly acidic geothermal pool with calm-looking waters that are deceptively harsh. After wrapping up our visit at the Mud Volcano area, we continued along the lower loop when we noticed a cluster of cars parked off the side of the road. Curious, we slowed down and noticed that the crowd had gathered to watch this coyote hunting in the meadow right next to the road. Since we were exhausted, we decided to head straight to our hotel, where we'd be staying for the next 2 nights, Old Faithful Inn. Old Faithful Inn is one of the most iconic structures in Yellowstone National Park, and it's known for its rustic parkitecture design and proximity to the famous Old Faithful geyser. The inn was designed by Robert C. Reamer and was completed in 1904. It is considered the largest log-style building in the world, and the inn's towering 6-story lobby features a massive stone fireplace made from rhyolite, which is a volcanic rock found throughout Yellowstone. It also has a handcrafted clock made of wrought iron and wood. Staying at the inn gives you this unique experience of being right next to Old Faithful, and some of the rooms even offer partial views of the geyser basin. The Old Faithful Inn also has a dining room that we were excited to have reservations for that night. The Old Faithful dining room is an historic and charming place that features towering log beams and a cozy stone fireplace that creates a warm and rustic atmosphere. While the dining room doesn't offer any direct views of the geyser, the ambience more than makes up for it. For dinner, I opted for the prime rib and Noah chose the ossobuco, and both dishes were flavorful and hearty and the perfect reward after a whole day of adventure. The dining room has been serving guests in the inn since 1904 and is definitely a must-try experience while you're staying at the inn.
We got a little stuffed bison.
What is that? Oh, $20. $20 plus tax.
I'll be staying right there. We do have a coffee maker.
Mm-hmm. You love a room with a coffee maker. Leave a view of the parking lot.
That's a nice parking lot right there.
It has Old Faithful on the lamp.
Yep, it sure does.
It's cute.
Got some chairs.
I like the
Dining table. Yeah, not all rooms have a private bathroom.
So,
We made sure to get our own dang bathroom.
yeah.
And we got a little bison and sheep.
Oh my god, those are so cute. And a moose.
Yeah, so we got a sheep. We got a bison.
Elk over
A
there.
little fox or
Coyote.
coyote, bear,
We got elk. A moose.
elk. Shower. We'll probably have to film all this again with a nice camera.
Today is going to be a day full of geysers and hot springs, and we started the day with a viewing of Old Faithful at sunrise.
It's a little past 7 in the morning and we are up to see Old Faithful. Just got out of our hotel, which is just right behind us, which is nice. And the awesome thing about this hotel is that it's located right next to Old Faithful, so we can just walk out of our hotel and there it is. It's right here. So we're waiting for it to go.
One of the perks of staying an Old Faithful Inn is that the Old Faithful geyser is just a few hundred feet away. So we were able to grab a cup of coffee and wait for the first eruption of the day before all of the other tour buses arrived. So it's not quite as busy yet. Old Faithful is by far the most popular attraction in Yellowstone, and it's easy to see why. Old Faithful erupts more frequently than any of the other big geysers, and its average interval between eruptions is about 100 minutes, but could vary anywhere between 50 to 130 minutes. And its eruptions are massive. It can last anywhere between 1.5 to 5 minutes, expelling boiling water at the height of 106 to 184 feet into the air. Its frequency, combined with its massive eruptions, makes Old Faithful one of the true geological wonders of the world. And it really does live up to the hype. If you are visiting, I highly recommend downloading the MPS app, which has geyser predictions for Old Faithful as well as some of the other popular predictable geysers like Daisy, Castle, Riverside, and Great Fountain. Or there is a prediction phone line that you can call if you prefer that. We'll try to catch a few of them as we explore later today. After seeing Old Faithful, we grabbed a quick breakfast at the cafe in the Old Faithful Lodge.
Yeah, that was awesome. But now I'm excited to go get something to eat and warm my fingers because they're frozen.
The lodge even has some windows here where you can watch Old Faithful from inside while you eat. We even saw some squirrels playing inside. After breakfast, we started exploring the Upper Geyser Basin. This area encompasses the entire area around Old Faithful and actually has the largest concentration of geysers in the world. Before starting out, we made sure to grab one of the trail guides that gives more information about the area. They ask that you return it when you finish or give a $1 donation if you do decide to keep it. The Upper Geyser Basin has several trails and walkways to discover. We started by taking the Morning Glory Pool Trail, which is about 2.8 miles round trip. And of course, there are wild bison roaming freely all throughout the area, so be sure to use caution if they are around.
Pretty crazy, huh?
Awesome. That's what that is.
Random buffalo right next to the hotel. Or bison. You gotta look up the difference.
Yeah, we thought he was fake for a second because he wasn't moving, but then he just moved his head. So he was real. Just kind of hanging out in front of the hotel. He might be waiting to check in.
Check in?
Yeah. Yeah, he's at the waiting line. You can't be waiting to check in. Wait. Oh my god, they're so cute.
The first geyser that we came across is Castle Geyser. Castle Geyser usually erupts twice a day, and we actually caught it later on in the day as we were making our way back. So stay tuned if you want to see that, because right now it's just steaming. Next is Crested Pool, which has superheated water that can reach over 200 degrees Fahrenheit. All the geothermal features are super steamy in the morning time because of the contrast in temperature between the cool morning air and the superheated boiling waters. After crossing over Firehole River, we noticed a geyser being active in the distance. This ended up being Sawmill Geyser. It erupted for a while as we passed by.
Sawmill is just going crazy.
There's also the Belgian Pool, which used to be called the Oyster Pool, but was renamed after a Belgian tourist passed away after falling into it, which is a harsh reminder of how dangerous this area is. Next, we came to the Grand Geyser, which is the world's tallest predictable geyser. It erupts every 7 to 15 hours and can reach heights of 150 to 200 feet. This is another one that we caught erupting later on in the day. By the way, in the mornings during the fall, it can get cold enough for the walkways to freeze over, creating a sheet of ice, so we had to tread carefully as we went along.
Look how icy it is.
Yeah, it's icy in the mornings.
Hey, careful. It's gonna take me all morning.
I know. We're gonna be here all day.
Next, we came across Beauty Pool.
Can't really tell how beautiful it is with all that steam. It's too steamy right now.
Can't see the beauty of it. All I see is steam.
Right next to the Beauty Pool is the Chromatic Pool.
You can see it has like a blue center to it. That's really cool. It is so incredible to me that we are like out here by ourselves. Like there's literally no one around us. We've got this whole boardwalk to ourselves this morning, which is just insane. Wow, look at that. The giant geyser. Last eruption, November 23rd, 2023. That guy is cool.
When it's active, Giant Geyser is one of the largest geysers in the world and can reach heights of 200 to 250 feet. And eruptions can last for over an hour. The large sinister shroud surrounding the giant's vent indicates that it could be thousands of years old.
Look at that. I can see it like splashing from here.
Let's go take a look.
Which one is this?
I think that was the one we saw bubbling up from way back there.
Oh, yeah? This is cool.
Grotto Geyser.
It does look like a grotto. Ooh, that's awesome.
The Grotto Geyser was erupting while we walked by. It is perhaps the most unusual of Yellowstone's geysers. Geologists believe that the geyser emerged in a stand of dead trees and over time deposited layers of sinister over the stumps and branches, giving it this unique formation today.
Whoa. That was awesome. Okay, this is my favorite. Looks like a tree is getting boiled.
Somebody making some tree soup.
Tree soup.
This is Riverside Geyser, which is one of the predictable ones that you can find in the app. It erupts every 5.5 to 7.5 hours. We didn't get to see this one erupting, but when it does, it shoots a 75-foot arch of water over the river. At the very end of the Morning Glory Trail is the Morning Glory Pool. This is one of the most beautiful and vibrant pools in the park. On our way back, Noah and I split up to catch a few of the geysers that were scheduled to erupt. I made my way over to Daisy Geyser, and to my surprise, I had it all to myself while it erupted.
I am sitting over here by the Daisy Geyser, and this one should be going off at about 10:47. So I am gonna wait and see if I can catch this one. And Noah actually just started walking back over to Castle Geyser because that one should be going off at about 10:30. So we're hoping to catch both of them going off while we're here. So I'm gonna sit here and wait for Daisy because that has a plus or minus 10 minutes to their prediction time, and Castle Geyser should be plus or minus 60 minutes. So hopefully I can catch Daisy and then make my way over to Castle and possibly see that in person. But Noah's gonna start heading over that way to try to see if we can catch it, if it is right on time. So I am literally sitting on this boardwalk just by myself. It's kind of crazy. You know, I'm the only one here. So I'm gonna enjoy this beautiful morning and wait for Daisy to blossom. So I see a couple of splashes coming from Daisy Geyser. I don't know if that's it. This one's getting a bit more active over here. So I wonder if that means that Daisy's probably going to be going soon too. So let's see. Yeah, that guy's definitely a lot more active. Look at that. I don't know if I'm just not able to see it as well from this side, or if she's going to go any higher than that. This guy's going pretty good though. Is that all you got, Daisy? Oh, here she goes. Here she goes. Whoa. Whoa. Holy smokes. She's still going. That was awesome. Wow. I still can't believe I'm the only one here. Like, that was so cool. That was at least like 50, maybe 75 feet up in the air. That was incredible. So this is Comet Geyser. He's still going off. So cool.
Noah made his way over to Castle Geyser. During his walk back, he saw Grand Geyser going off in the distance, towering over the people watching up close.
Looks like Castle is now going off.
Noah barely made it back in time to catch the last few minutes of Castle Geyser's eruption, which was a really awesome sight to see.
Still erupting. Never gets old.
I know. No, it doesn't. It was amazing.
were standing.
No, it's right where we were standing, right there. The buffalo just crossing.
Oh, there he goes.
She had to go running towards it.
I know.
Before heading out, we made a stop at the Old Faithful Visitor Center to get our Old Faithful stamp. And this visitor center highlights some of the geothermal features like mud pots, geysers, steam vents, and hot springs. It also shows some bobby sox trees that can cause some trees in the hydrothermal area to look like they're wearing white socks. By this time, it was early afternoon and we wanted to spend the rest of the day completing the lower loop and catching some of the other spots along the way. So there's Biscuit Basin back there, all closed down for the season since the explosion happened this summer. So unfortunately, we're not able to go and visit. So they have all the parking spots all blocked off here next to the road. I guess that means we have to come back.
Just for Biscuit Basin.
Just for Biscuit Basin. The first area that we came across was the Fountain Paint Pots area. This is an easy half-mile trail that contains all 4 types of hydrothermal features: geysers, hot springs, mud pots, and fumaroles. You can see some of the bobby sock trees here that we saw at the Old Faithful Visitor Center. The Silex and Celestine Springs have a vibrant blue color. The fountain paint pots are thick, bubbling mud that look like paint splashing. Just past the paint pots are some fumaroles, which is another name for a steam vent. The geyser area has several geysers, and while we were there, the Clepsydra geyser was erupting. After the paint pots, we stopped at Gibbon Falls, which is a beautiful waterfall that drops 84 feet over a remnant of the Yellowstone caldera rim that was created by a massive volcanic eruption over 600,000 years ago. After Gibbon Falls, we entered Hayden Valley, which is another hot spot to see wildlife. We, of course, had to stop and admire the bison for a bit before continuing our journey. Next, we came across the fishing bridge, which was a popular spot to fish for cutthroat trout, but was closed in the early 1970s due to overfishing. Of course, we had to make a stop at the Fishing Bridge Visitor Center to get our Fishing Bridge stamp. This visitor center highlights all of the birds of Yellowstone. It's also located right on the lake, so you can walk out the back and get this pretty view of Yellowstone Lake. After the Fishing Bridge area, we made our way over to the West Thumb Geyser Basin. This area is really cool because it has geysers and hot springs right next to Yellowstone Lake, which makes it a beautiful area to walk through. Some of the highlights here include the thumb paint pots.
You can hear that one over there gurgling. Right there, that guy.
As well as geysers located right on the lakeshore. There's a few cones here, one called the fishing cone and the big cone. Fishermen used to actually bring their catches over to these cones to drop them in and cook them here. Obviously, you're not allowed to do that anymore. There's also the beautiful black pool with its vibrant blue color. And the abyss pool, which is just as pretty.
How pretty these are.
Yeah, I'm glad we stopped here.
There's some little craters around here.
We visited at the end of the season, so the West Thumb Visitor Center was closed for the season. So we actually had to drive 3 miles over to the Grant Visitor Center to get our West Thumb stamp. We also got the Grant Visitor Center stamp while we were there, which brought our total stamp count to 7 different stamps for our collection. On our way back to Old Faithful, we stopped at the Continental Divide. The Continental Divide is an invisible line that separates drainage basins, so rainfall on one side will drain to the ocean, and rainfall on the other side will drain to another basin.
We're at the Continental Divide! Look, elevation 8391. No wonder why I can't breathe.
On our final morning in Yellowstone, we started the day by watching Old Faithful erupt from the balcony of the Old Faithful Inn. While it wasn't the closest view, seeing the geysers plume rise with the people silhouetted against the morning sky was a great way to start the day. After watching Old Faithful erupt, we began our hike to the Old Faithful Overlook. The trail is a little over 1.5 miles round trip, starting near the Old Faithful Boardwalk and crossing the Firehole River before the climb begins. It's a moderately challenging hike with an elevation gain of about 175 feet, but it has peaceful surroundings that make it well worth the effort. The trail is well marked, and along the way, you'll want to stay alert for wildlife like bison, deer, or even bears. Once you're at the top, the breathtaking view of Old Faithful, the Upper Geyser Basin, and Old Faithful Inn make the climb truly worth it. After finishing up at the Old Faithful Overlook, we made our way over to Geyser Hill to visit a few geysers we'd missed the day before. We started at Giantess Geyser, one of the more unpredictable and rare geysers in the basin. Next, we headed over to Doublet Pool, a beautiful pair of deep blue pools with striking geyserette edges. From there, we stopped at Orem Geyser, which erupts every few hours, sending water 20 to 30 feet high. Then there's the Lion Geyser Group, which includes 4 geysers: Lion, Lioness, Big Cub, and Little Cub. The largest Lion Geyser lives up to its name by erupting with a roar and sending water up to 100 feet into the air. Afterwards, we visited Heart Spring, a small but striking heart-shaped pool.
Just turned around to this guy going off. Whoa. Wonder which one that is.
As we were continuing along the loop, Beehive Geyser suddenly erupted, and it was an incredible sight to see as its powerful jet of water shot over 200 feet in the air, creating this stunning display. The force of the eruption was as impressive as the height. Finally, we ended our exploration with Anemone Geyser, a smaller but active feature that erupts every 10 minutes or so, sending water up to 10 feet high with its 2 nearby vents.
And it's gone.
Our next stop was Black Sands Basin, a smaller but vibrant geothermal area that gets its name from the black volcanic sand surrounding the thermal features.
Cliff geyser is going off right now.
As we arrived, we were lucky enough to see Cliff Geyser erupting, which created an impressive show by Iron Creek. After that, we wandered over to Emerald Pool, where the green waters shimmered with yellow and orange mineral deposits. The colors were breathtaking, especially in the bright sunlight. Just nearby was Rainbow Pool, a large 100-foot wide spring with clear blue water surrounded by yellow and orange thermophiles. The high temperature in the pool creates this vibrant, almost fluorescent shimmer along the edges, giving it its name. And lastly, we took in the sight of Sunset Lake. With its striking gradient of colors, the pool has bright orange edges that are created by thermophilic bacteria, and the steam rising from the water makes a truly mesmerizing scene. To wrap up our incredible Yellowstone adventure, we couldn't think of a better way to cap off our trip than visiting the famous Grand Prismatic Spring. Located within the Midway Geyser Basin, the Grand Prismatic is the largest hot spring in the United States, stretching 370 feet across, bigger than a football field, and plunging more than 120 feet deep. Its vibrant rainbow of colors, ranging from deep blue in the center to fiery reds and oranges at the edges, come from heat-loving bacteria called thermophilites, which thrive in different temperatures around the spring. As we walked along the boardwalk, we got an up-close view of the spring, but from this angle, it's hard to really appreciate the vibrant colors. You're essentially at eye level, making it difficult to grasp the full spectrum. But it's still a great way to truly appreciate the sheer size of this spring. After walking along the boardwalk, we decided to take the short hike to the Grand Prismatic Overlook. This trail starts from the Fairy Falls Trailhead, located just south of the Midway Geyser Basin. It's just over a half mile and an easy walk with a slight climb of about 100 feet in elevation. Once we arrived at the top, the view was breathtaking. From the platform, we could finally take in the full grandeur of the spring's color, something that's just really hard to appreciate from ground level. And seeing the spring's vibrant eye from above makes the climb completely worth it. It's the perfect finale to our Yellowstone journey. However, I have a confession to make. The day before, we actually hiked to the Grand Prismatic overlook in the evening, and the difference was just night and day. During our evening visit, the colors were muted by the low light and much of the spring was obscured by steam. So I highly recommend visiting the overlook in the middle of the day when the sun is at its brightest. The sunlight really brings out the full spectrum of the spring's colors. As we wrapped up our adventure in Yellowstone, I couldn't help but reflect on everything this incredible park has to offer. From the peaceful serenity of Lamar Valley to the iconic eruptions of Old Faithful and the awe-inspiring views of Grand Prismatic Spring, each moment felt like a new discovery. And whether it was spotting wildlife or taking in the geothermal wonders, Yellowstone is a place that will leave you speechless at every turn. Our journey through its vast and beautiful landscape was full of surprises, and it's one that I'll carry with me forever. So if you are planning your own trip to Yellowstone, here are a few tips to make the most of your experience. Don't forget sunscreen and chapstick. Even with the weather being cool, the high elevation and the sun's reflection off thermal features can leave you with a nasty burn, so you'll want to make sure to protect your skin and lips throughout the day. Also, stay far away from the wildlife. Bison, elk, and other animals may seem calm, but they are wild and unpredictable. Always make sure to maintain a safe distance and follow the park's guidelines. Also, make sure to wear layers. Yellowstone's weather can change quickly. Bring layers so that you can be prepared for anything from chilly mornings to warmer afternoons. And make sure to stay on the marked trails. Whether you're exploring geothermal areas or hiking, always stay on the designated paths. This protects the fragile environment and keeps you safe. And also bring a reusable water bottle. Staying hydrated is essential, especially with all the hiking and exploring. Refilling at the park stations will help you avoid using single-use plastics. With these tips in mind, you'll be ready to experience all that Yellowstone has to offer. Take your time, soak in the beauty of the landscape, and appreciate the wonder of this preserved wilderness. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for joining us on our Yellowstone adventure. We would love it if you would hit the like button and subscribe if you would like to see more of our adventures. Noah and I are based in Florida, where we mostly create Florida content, but we would also love to take you on future epic adventures like this one. Before we go, we want to give a special thank you to our channel members. Your support means the world to us, and it's because of you that we can continue to create these amazing adventures. And we're so grateful to have you along on our journey. For those of you planning your own Yellowstone trip, we've put together a free downloadable itinerary to help you get started. Just click on the link in the description below to grab your copy and start planning. If you enjoyed this video, you might also like our recent trip to the Canadian Rockies, which just popped up on the screen. In this video, we'll take you on an adventure through Banff, Jasper, and the stunning Icefields Parkway. Trust me, it's another trip you won't want to miss. See you in the next one.